to Champions and Beyond. In this video we're going to take a look at the unmatched game system and show you what it is and whether or not you should be interested in giving it a go. Now, first of all, what is unmatched? Unmatched is a competitive game for 2 to 4 players. Each of the player counts, so 2, 3 and 4, all play slightly differently, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But the premise of the game is you will get a fighter, a character within the game, and you are going to go up against another fighter and see who would win. That's the very basics of it. There are a ton of different characters within the game. There are several different IPs that have been used. You have some Jurassic Park stuff, so you could have the T-Rex. You can have historical characters like Harry Houdini, King Arthur, Robin Hood. You can have literary characters like Little Red Riding Hood or Dracula, Sherlock Holmes, Alice. There are also Marvel sets that can be added in, and there is also a Buffy the Vampire Slayer set. Now, every one of the game boxes are fully playable on their own, and the great part about the unmatched game system is they are all compatible with each other. So you can turn around and say, well, what would happen if a T-Rex were to fight Achilles, or if Bigfoot were to fight Harry Houdini? You can come up with some absolutely ridiculous games, but the game plays 10 minutes to half an hour. 10 minutes when you really get to know the game and you know what the cards do within your deck. Half an hour if you're reading everything, having a really good think about what you want to do. So the way in which Unmatched works is you will get a box. Within the box, you'll receive your rule book. You will receive a player board. The player boards that come in the 2 character sets, these ones are double-sided. The T-Rex one is only single-sided. But these player boards are only big enough to hold a 2-player game. If you want to play 3 or 4 players, you do need a bigger set. It comes with a slightly bigger board. But the way it works is you have melee characters. So all the spaces are connected by solid black lines, and they mean that they are a connected space. So if you had a character on this space, they could attack a character in melee in the space next to them as long as it was connected. You also have ranged fighters. So the way you work out a ranged attack is you have to match the colour space that you are on with an opponent in that same colour space. So if you were on this yellowish coloured square and your opponent was over here or over here, you could attack them with a ranged attack. So some fighters will come with an ally or a sidekick that helps them out. In this box you have Bigfoot. You get a nice chunky plastic miniature for the hero, and then you get the jackalope. You get a little token to show your ally. Also in this set you have Robin Hood, so with a nice miniature, and then Robin Hood has his band of merry men. So you have 4 merry men tokens. Each hero also comes with a deck of cards and health dials. Generally, if you only have one health dial, your allies will only have one health, so when they take a hit, they're going to go away. If you have two health dials, like Bigfoot does, the Jackalope will have its own health pool to use. The cards that you get for each hero, you have a double-sided identity card, which will show you the identity, your hit points, your movement value, and on the back the different actions that you can do on a turn. And then you'll get a signature set of cards. These are always the cards that you will use during a game, and I'll go into how you use them a little bit later on. Not all heroes do have allies. Some heroes will come on their own. Some good examples are the T-Rex, Jekyll and Hyde, and the Invisible Man. All come with no allies to help them. And you can try out different heroes to see sort of which playstyle you prefer. So here we have one of the bigger boards, one of the 4-player boards from the Cobble and Fog set. It's kind of a London street theme. And I will show you with Dracula what the different cards are and what you get. So you would have a hit point dial for Dracula. You don't get hit point dials for the sisters, as they are allies. You can see on the card the movement value, so all of them will move 2. And you will see whether or not they're a melee or a ranged fighter. You can see here Dracula is melee, and the sisters are also melee fighters. So they want to get into the fight and get up close and personal. Your deck of cards comes with 4 different types of cards. You have the purple symbol on some of them, and they are wild cards. You can use them for attack or for defense. You have red attack cards with that symbol. You have blue defensive cards, and you have yellow scheme cards. The game uses a deck and hand management system. So unlike certain games, once you shuffle up your deck, that is the amount of cards that you will have for the game. So the way they balance that is, if you ever need to draw a card, either from an effect on a card or from movement, so whenever you move you do draw a card into your hand, if you are unable to draw that card, then you automatically take 2 points of damage. So not only will you not be able to attack your enemy, you are just going to drain down your own health. So it helps prevent that turtling strategy where you will sit in a corner and just hope to survive longer than your enemy. But it also does bring in the strategy where you know how many cards your opponent can have or has left. You can see what they've got left in their deck, and you can choose to back away and hope that you do outlast an opponent if they've gone really hard at the beginning. Now, on your turn, you get 2 actions, and those 2 actions you can do the same action twice. There are 3 possible actions, and they're listed on the back of your player cards. So you can move, in which case you move your total movement value. and you draw a card, you can boost that movement if you play a card out of your hand and you use the little number or the little symbol that is here on the card. You can boost your movement by that amount. So I could lose this 3 attack card out of my hand and out of the round that you're playing to boost my movement by 3 spaces. And when you move, you can move every one of your pieces. So you don't just have to move one piece that you have. I could move Dracula and the 3 sisters all up to their maximum movement value. So you can move, you can scheme. Schemes, there's very little that anyone can do about them. Generally, they have an ability that you get to use, and there's no way of blocking them. Or you can attack. Now, if you're a melee character, as I said before, you have to be in a space adjacent to your opponent or to the target of your attack. If you're ranged, you have to be within the ranged zone to be able to attack your opponent. The way that attacking works, if I were the Dracula player, I would take my attack card, which we'll just find the first attack card that we have. So I would choose to do an attack. I play my card face down. Now my opponent would get an opportunity to play a face down defense card if they want to do that. You then subtract the attack value by the defense value and see whether or not you do any damage. If all damage is cancelled, the attack is considered unsuccessful. Because of this, and because you have a limited amount of cards, there will be times where tactically it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to defend, or you may not have any options in your hand to defend. And again, that just helps with the puzzle and the tactical nature of the game. When you're playing, if you're playing against an opponent that has allies, you would win the game if you just take out the main fighter. You don't have to take out all of the allies. So having a solo fighter isn't at a disadvantage going up against a fighter with several allies. So the game plays out with one player taking their 2 actions, passing on play to the second player, to the third player, to the fourth player, until there is only one fighter remaining. Now, I said before that each different player count plays in a slightly different way. So in a 2-player game, you play just head-to-head 1v1. The boards do have marked spaces that are for player 1 and for player 2. And every set has a different kind of board, different terrain. So there is one board in one of the sets, and I can't remember off the top of my head which set it is, but it has spaces that you can, basically there's a tunnel, so there are connected spaces, so you can kind of teleport around the board. In the Little Red Riding Hood of Beowulf, the map there, you can barricade a door. So if you can get into the building and barricade the door behind you, your opponent has to waste an action to unbarricade the door to be able to get in to follow you. So there are some interesting rules between different map options as well as between different fighter combinations. Different fighters have different play styles and have different gimmicks amongst them. which is what makes the game so replayable. The sets that I have here, I have 20 fighters that I can pick from, and this is my personal collection. Slowly, I'm increasing the sets that I have. I've just received the Houdini versus the Genie and the Little Red Riding Hood versus Beowulf sets. Houdini versus the Genie, I want to say, was earlier on this year or late last year, so late 22 or early 23 that it was released. Beowulf and Little Red Riding Hood, I believe, was one of the earlier sets that was released for the game, but they are new to me. In a 3-player game, it's a all v all game system. A 3-player game is probably the wonkiest out of all of the games, because the starting spaces will have player 1 on one side of the board, player 2 on the other, and then player 3 also on the same side as player 1. So you're going to have 2 fighters quite close to each other, and one maybe protecting themselves off a little bit. So it can be a little bit wonky depending on your player order. In a 4-player game, this comes into a team game. So player 1 and player 3 will go up against player 2 and player 4. And in that version, it will be the last team to have a hero or heroes left on the board that will win. Now, replayability for this game is massive. You can play any fighter against any other fighter. You can swap out the maps. But once you have played all the matchups, and especially once you've played a single hero several times, there is no way to customize that hero. Once you get to know their cards, once you get to know their play style, that is it. So although you can always take them up on a different map or against a different character that your opponent's going to use, there is some limitations to the replayability there. Now, I have seen certain people's content for Unmatched, and I'm not going to fully get into all of that, but there definitely seems to be a tournament scene, and there seems to be a very clear tier list of hero rankings. Or I use the term hero, but because it's a playable character, and I suppose I go back to Champions there, and you play as the heroes. It is characters rather than heroes. So, should you be interested in Unmatched as a game system? Well, now that really depends on what you want out of a game. So, if you like to play a competitive game rather than a cooperative game, this is going to tick a box. If you like that head-to-head player elimination kind of game, it's going to tick a box for you. If you like easy setup, easy tear down, you don't have to do any prep work beforehand, you don't have to build decks, you have everything within a set that you need for that hero. You just need to pick out a hero, pick out a board, get your opponent to pick out a hero, and go for it. It's a quick paced game, so it's not going to overstay its welcome on the table. So, like most games, it isn't for everybody. If that head-to-head, in-your-face style isn't for you, then you're not going to enjoy the game. As I mentioned before, there are several different IPs that you can go into, as well as having some of the historical or fictional characters, like majority of mine are. You have the Jurassic Park stuff. If you can find the Buffy stuff, you can do several of the characters from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Or if you're a Marvel fan, which if you found my channel, you probably are, you're going to enjoy some Marvel heroes. Now, as I say, I have just got a couple new boxes, so I may well do some what's in the box series, going through and showing off some of the miniatures, some of the mechanics, what the characters can do. If that is of interest, please let me know. It's unlikely there is no solo mode, so it's unlikely that I will do any gameplay videos of Unmatched. If you enjoy Unmatched, then please let us know in the comment section below as to what your favourite set is, what your favourite character is. And that way, if there is a new player out there that has taken an interest in the game, your discussion may help them narrow down what characters they'd like to get, what sets they'd like to get, if they'd like to try out the game. I would personally recommend a 4-player set as your opening. If you buy a 4-player set, you get the bigger board that can accommodate a 4-player game, and you get enough characters to either do a 2, a 3, or a 4-player game. So I would suggest for a new player, somebody that wants to try it out anyway, to try out a 4-player version, and you can get a look at all that Unmatched has to offer. Thank you for your support and thank you for watching. Well, until next time, happy gaming.